All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Dallas County Board of Commissioners voting session. Today's Thursday, June 16th, 2022. Welcome to all those that are with us in person as well as those that are with us online. We'll start out with a roll call. And as you can see, we're all here. Ask everyone to please stand for brief invocation and pledge. If you would bow your heads, please. Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for the many blessings of life. We thank you for this community. We ask, Lord, that you give us knowledge and wisdom to carry out its business. Anything that we accomplish, we'll give you the honor and glory in Christ's name. We do ask and pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Are there any announcements?
Don't forget to vote on Tuesday for the runoff election.
Okay.
And you will vote at your precinct that you voted at on election day.
And also our next meeting is in 3 weeks instead of 2.
July 7th. Yep. Any other announcements? Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. First up, we have the minutes of work session held on June 2nd, 2022. Any additions or deletions? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Dooley,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. Next, we have the minutes of the voting session held on June 2nd, 2022. Any additions or deletions? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
second by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. Next up, we have the approval of the agenda. I do have some changes to the agenda. We will be adding a new business section, and in new business, we will be addressing the following items. Community-oriented policing services COP school safety grant. Sheriff brought that to us, and that is due tomorrow. Request for a public works special projects coordinator position. County Manager Headley brought that. Request for title and grade change for planning and development administrative assistants. Planning Director Sharon Farrell brought that. Request for title and grade change for planning and development business license technician. Ms. Farrell brought that as well. And then a proposed agreement regarding exchange of right-of-way or interest in land related to the county's State Route 53 at Thompson Creek Park Road realignment project, and that was brought to us by the county attorney. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with those new business changes.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And the agenda is approved 4-0 with those new business changes. Next up, we have public comment. No one signed up for public comment in this particular section. We'll move on to public hearing. Public hearing today is ambulance billing policy update. Chief Thompson brought that information to you a couple of weeks ago, and those were some minor changes to make that more in line. You want to kind of briefly hit on some of those changes, or is everybody good? Good with them? All right. All right, so with that, I'll open up the hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on the ambulance billing policy update? Anyone here to speak on the ambulance billing policy update? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion, we approve the update as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. Next, we'll move on to zonings. Here are the zoning rules that we will follow. First, the planning director will present the application recommendation of the planning commission. Then we'll hear from the applicant. Then we'll open the hearing. We'll hear from those who are in favor of the application. We'll hear from those who are opposed to the application. Each person wishing to speak will be allotted 3 minutes per our zoning guidelines. Anyone who speaks will need to sign in and give us your name and address. Also, if anyone has donated $250 or more to any candidate, you will need to fill out a form stating so. So those are the rules that we will follow. So first up, we have ZA 22-09 Continental 673 Fund LLC request to rezone tax map parcel 114-020 from commercial highway business to RMF residential multifamily for the purposes of developing 113 units of multifamily residence. That's at Dawson Village Way South and Beartooth Parkway. Ms. Sharon.
Yes, thank you. This is basically that tract of land behind Connie House that has been undeveloped for a variety of reasons over the years. It is a consistent request with the comprehensive plan. The concept plan is just that. It's a concept plan. We'll have to go back through it and, with fine detail as far as the codes and sidewalks and all. The planning commission recommended approval with the stipulation that a 25-foot separation between the face of the structure's garage and the curb of the sidewalk or the curb of the roadway, whichever is closest, be added as a recommendation, as a stipulation. The motion did pass 4-0. So they recommended approval with one stipulation. And in your backup is a list of staff recommended stipulations, if you had a chance to look at those. Those were sent to the applicant earlier today. But the planning commission was supportive of it.
Questions for Ms. Sharon? Okay. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant present? Okay. We'll move on and open the hearing. Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Come on up, give us your name and your address. Please sign in, and then you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you all very much, commissioners. My name is Will Creekmore. Address is 2740 Graymont Court, Cumming, Georgia. My company is the owners of the senior living facility right next door, which is Manor Lake Assisted Living and Memory Care. And we are not in opposition of this type of development, but based on the current site plan that has been submitted with their rezoning application, really the main issue we have is the location of their trash enclosure that they want to put, which is over here on the west side of this, where the road comes in off of 400. We most recently purchased an additional acre right here, where we're going to add an additional 10 more units that's already been approved. And our concern is that by adding an enclosure there, a trash enclosure there, that it's going to be an adverse issue with our residents that are going to be paying, north of $3,800 to $4,000 a month, and for them to have a dumpster right behind their house. And so that's really our own issue. We're already working with this applicant on working on a sewer easement to help them out. So we're not adverse to the project. We just want to see maybe the site plan reworked so that this trash enclosure can go somewhere else. So that's my only issue.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Anyone else here to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone else here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. Did the applicant ever show up? Come on up. I'm going to allow you to tell us what you would like to do in reference to this zoning application.
Good evening, everyone. I apologize for us being tardy. We thought 6 PM start, so I'm very sorry we left you hanging. My name's Sarah Johnson. I'm here representing Continental Properties. Our business address for the record is W134 N8675 Executive Parkway. We're located in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. I will go very briefly through the presentation out of respect for everyone's time, but I'm happy to go back into any of the slides to address any questions that might come up. Do I have access to?
Yep.
Okay. So a little bit about us. We are a private real estate company that got started in 1979 in suburban Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We really got our start strongly in the retail end of things. Kohl's is headquartered in the same small suburban market that we are. So we really did a lot of work with Kohl's, Sears, power centers, strip centers through the 90s and early 2000s. In early 2000, we also got started with our multifamily brand known as the Springs. Springs Apartments is what we got started with first and foremost. I think these might be going by themselves. I'll just get into this very briefly just to show you our footprint in Atlanta Metro. We do have a few Springs apartments constructed and stabilized. You can see on the map, the Springs at McDonough and Springs at Noonan Crossing. We also have Authentics Cartersville. That is another product line that we offered and got started constructing roughly 5 years ago. We started working on the design of that prototype. And what we are here tonight, we're very excited to be able to offer and propose to you our first Avantera community, which would be known as Avantera Dawson. Very briefly, just to speak to the market research, we have a very strong team internally that completes a lot of market research throughout the country and takes a peek at things like job growth, occupancy rates. There's a lot of matrices that we're paying attention to support the need for additional housing in the area. And over the past 3 years, demand has significantly outpaced supply in the area. The occupancy rate in the submarket right now is at 97.6%, and that indicates to us the need for additional housing in the area. So very briefly, what is Avantera? Avantera is different from our other prototype multifamily brands that we have internally. I don't know if any of you are familiar with our other communities nearby, but Springs and Authentics appear garden style 2- and 3-story product in nature attached housing. Avantera, we took a step back and it's purpose-built single family housing. So to the naked eye and for folks passing by, it appears like a single family residential community. But the benefits are that we own, manage, and operate identically to what we would do with the other product lines that we have. So we've got on-site operations staff, maintenance staff overseeing the day-to-day operations of our communities and the upkeep of the community long-term. So single lot, that's another thing that's unique as opposed to a more traditional single family subdivision. It would be a single lot platted and maintained and managed by Continental's employees. We would be constructing in combination of both duplex and triplex homes here to meet code. The range of our bedrooms would be 1 to 4 bedrooms in size throughout the community. So very briefly, and I think you probably have gone through this again, our formal request tonight is to request the rezoning to RMF district for this property. It's consistent with the future land use plan, along with the density guidelines suggested in the comp plan. And it allows us to transform really a limited potential site due to grading challenges, wetlands, drainage ways, into a very usable, desirable community. I have a brief image of the colored plan with a few visuals of what the homes in our resident clubhouse would look like. I very briefly just put on the screen, I did watch over again the planning commission meeting and took note of the questions that came up during that session. So just to speak to the range in the home sizes and bedroom counts, our projected rents, our history, how we manage our communities over time, operations, parking. I'm going to get into all those just on the next slide, just to make sure everyone is in complete understanding of how we are proposing to construct, manage, and operate. So on our plan right now, we have 113 homes. Like I said, just recently, it's a mix of 1 through 4 bedroom homes on the site. They range in size on the low end for our smallest 1-bedroom unit. It's 983 square feet, up to our largest 4-bedroom home at 1,860 square feet. We do use revenue management, so the rents adjust as the software evaluates supply and demand in the market. But right now, what our system is proposing or recommending, foreseeing for when we would break ground on the project, rents would be in the range from about $1,800 a month up to about $2,600 a month. We do have attached garage opportunities on the plan in a range of 1 and 2 car. There are some homes on the property that would not have attached garages, but we do offer a minimum of 2 stalls, 2 parking stalls per home in a combination of surface and garage. We really did take a lot of time to work with both staff, emergency services. We heard commentary and concern over on-street parking. So we did adjust the plan from initial submittal to make sure we were not having any parking on the street. It's all in driveway, away from that right of way for access purposes. We do have 4 points of access in totality when you look at the plan overall. I did want to invite Brian up very briefly to speak to traffic, because I know that's another point of comment that's come up with our submittal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come back up here and speak before you. On the different side, but still am a citizen of Dawson County, and so I do still care about the development of the county.
Speaking to the mic, please.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
So, and maybe if you guys have any type of issues regarding as far as traffic goes on Beartooth Parkway or something like that, this site's pretty unique because it does offer multiple points of access. It offers 2 points off of Beartooth Parkway, as well as 1 point off of the interparcel access between Connie House. And it also goes to, you do have also access into 400 and also to the signal interchange at 53 and right there at the bank there, right to get out of Kroger. So there is multiple points of access through there. Actually, we did not perform a traffic study for this development. We did not think it was required simply because the Manor Lake, which is the development above us, doesn't have any type of deceleration lane or anything like that. And also when reviewing the Dawson County subdivision regulations, according to Dawson County GIS, Beartooth Parkway has a posted speed limit of 20 miles an hour. And inside the regulation, it says speeds of 25 miles an hour is a threshold for a deceleration lane is not warranted. So we didn't feel like a traffic study was warranted. And also the previous rezonings approved by this board didn't require any type of center turn lanes or anything like that. So with all the different multiple points of access going out in all different directions, we feel like traffic can disperse evenly throughout multiple high points of the day. Obviously, Beartooth Parkway is all curbed and gutter. I think it ranks pretty high in the COPACE scale in regards of the quality of the road and that kind of stuff. But obviously, any impacts to Beartooth Parkway, we can explore if this board so chooses.
I've got just a few more slides I'll go through, and then if you have other questions for Brian, I will gladly step aside on any of the technical. Parking was another point that came up in planning commission and talking with staff. I apologize that the dimensions are a little difficult to read, but I wanted to give examples to show you all how each of the different home configurations provides appropriate parking. So on this configuration where we would have that duplex condition and the homes would both have a 2-car attached garage, we would also have room for a third apron parking stall, surface parking stall in front of that garage. Typically, or just as an aside, I wanted to point out, we would normally have that full space between the homes paved to allow for 2 surface stalls in front of the garages per home. But we're working through code requirements and considerations where there's a maximum curb cut in front of each driveway of 10 feet, I believe. So we had to design kind of that center median space. So these homes would each offer 3 parking stalls apiece. One thing to mention, we've got a 21-foot dimension from the garage, the face of the garage, to the beginning of that sidewalk. I do know that in staff's considerations, they did mention a number of 25 feet. So that is something I would like to discuss further with the board. And I have another slide, just we've kind of done some studies on typical vehicle lengths up to super cab trucks to figure out that we could get comfortable with this number. The other condition we have, the duplex condition with a single car attached garage. In these homes, we would have the single garage stall attached paired with the apron parking stall in front. So each of these homes would have 2 off-street parking stalls available to them, one that would be attached to the home. And last but not least, I will skip back to that image with the vehicle, but last but not least on this plan, we do have some duplex homes that do not have attached garages. And what we've done in that circumstance is we've designed tandem driveways on either side of that home. Those tandem driveways are 44 feet in length, so they would allow 2 vehicles to park on the side of that home adjacent to each of the homes. The last visual we had, I think this is a suburban, if I'm correct, and that shows you just a dimension as a comparable. Under 19 feet in length. The largest super cab truck we could find was just shy of 21 feet. But I wanted to promote and share with you the differences that we have, that someone with a larger vehicle or truck like that, if they would be more comfortable with that tandem longer driveway available to them, we would have the flexibility and the options for our residents. I have just a few slides at the end to give you some visuals about the interiors of the homes. So very open concept. When you walk into a living room that kind of flows well into the dining room space and kitchen space. This is another view kind of looking towards that front of the home from the kitchen. Solid surface countertops, stainless steel appliances. All of our homes would offer smart technology, so the Ring doorbells and the Nest for the thermostat, so they are all smart home. Sorry that this has kind of got a life of its own. This is just another view into one of our primary suites that would have the ensuite bathroom attached as well. Very briefly, again, is an overall look at the community. We have a lot of amenities that we're offering our residents. We do have the resident clubhouse that has the resort style swimming pool, a 24-hour fitness center for our residents to enjoy, grilling spaces, a large multi-purpose room inside to host events. We do have select homes that would have a private enclosed yard. We are very pet friendly at all of our communities. So we do have a few pet playgrounds shown within the site that are fenced and gated for our residents to be able to bring their pets to run leash free, along with a doggy wash station. We do offer valet trash service to our residents, and I think we did cover the interiors. I can speak. I have a slide if there are any questions about our property management team and our operations arm to the company. Again, I just want to stress to you all that we not only build the projects, we get them developed, owned, and operate. We're not hiring out third-party management. Those are all Continental employees. With that, I just have the slide of the site plan at the end. And again, my extreme apologies for being tardy to the presentation, but I'll open it up for any comments or questions that you all have.
Questions of the applicant?
So on the north east corner, it appears that you are encompassing a primary commercial place that would be adjacent to the cross Beartooth to the car wash. what's the anticipation of that? Are you just including that into your RMF? You don't want to do any commercial? Because I assume that you would understand, or I assume that you do understand that residential costs us money, whereas commercial generates revenue to offset what your residential costs from a service delivery perspective. And when you're encompassing a prime commercial lot, and I assume you're just doing that to get your density numbers where you want them to be, we're losing a potential commercial revenue stream long-term by you designing it that way.
I just want to make sure that I'm clear on what we're looking at. Are you speaking to the 6 homes that we have north of Dawson Village Parkway in that triangular area?
No, to the north of that. So if you're familiar with the project, you go north on 400 and you got 53 that bisects that.
Yep.
And then so you would be on 53 and Beartooth Parkway is where I'm talking about, that corner that's just shows vacant.
Oh, sure. Well, we do not have any plans at the moment for commercial. I can speak to the current landowner. They have marketed the property for a significant number of years for commercial and retail users. The biggest reasons that they can't get traction with retailers at the moment, significant topography in the site. There is a lot of grading and a lot of consideration we are giving to the programming of our site that a larger pad would have more difficulty developing and constructing and designing within those parameters. We're also constructing around existing wetlands and drainage features on the site. But to answer very candidly to your question on that hard corner, we're not anticipating any type of a programming for any commercial development. I don't know if we'd be opposed to parceling that off. I just don't know what could realistically get built in that space.
Well, it's an acre space or
Pretty good.
it's what?
It falls pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you got multiple different commercial sites right there. You know, one of the things that we're trying to attract is that doesn't require large footprints is medical office space, which those particular units don't require large level parcels. So one of my big challenges for this particular piece, it is in a commercial area. And the more that we continue to bring residential online, the more our costs are. So my focus for this particular area is more geared towards a commercial use than a residential use, just because we don't want to do away with any parcel within this area that can be revenue generating versus expense generating. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Again, I just want to promote the fact that we do have on-site maintenance and management. We contract service with our upkeep and our groundskeep on our site. I realize that it's more all encompassing to your point of maintaining and the expenses behind that, but we do maintain and operate, manage maintenance, longevity, and managing the infrastructure within our property boundaries.
Are all these strictly rental? There's nothing to buy. It's all rental.
They are. It's a single ownership entity with Continental that would own and manage all of the homes, singular user. The benefit there is we have things, I could speak in detail about our operations end of staff. The screening processes that we go through and the hurdles that our potential residents need to meet, the upkeep and the maintenance of the homes in the yards, where if you had kind of that sporadic single ownership lot entities, you may have some neighbors that really take great pride in their front yard, others that aren't really paying attention too much. So the benefit here is that single ownership entity maintaining. It's an asset for us. We want to be long-term partners in the community. We've got a really strong footprint in the Atlanta metro, and this is just a really great opportunity that we're very excited about to bring our newest development line, the Avantera communities, to the marketplace.
Well, if some wants to mow the grass, will there be much grass? I mean, some want to mow grass, they can, and if some don't, they can call the management and say, I don't want to fool with this.
We would, I guess, we wouldn't have the option of our residents taking care of the lawns on their
Okay,
own. That's
okay.
something that would fall under our purview and our responsibility to
So
maintain.
no
and manage.
maintenance.
No maintenance.
No
That's the
maintenance.
beauty of it. I have a previous slide where we really reference it as more of a lock and leave like lifestyle, right? You get the benefit of the single family home with none of the maintenance obligations. So you've got property management, keeping an eye on your home if you want to leave for a month and go on vacation and you know that your home is going to be well maintained and cared for.
So you've seen the stipulations that were provided to you by planning department?
I have. The only one that I wanted to draw everyone's attention to had to do with the parking dimension for the apron stalls, because we feel that we have more than adequate space there.
So you're saying 21 feet instead of 25?
We have 21 feet to the front of the sidewalk, but then another 5 feet of sidewalk programmed before the street. So in total, before you would get to that curb line of the street network, it would be 26 feet total,
Mhm.
but 21 feet before the sidewalk would be there.
But you're good with all the other 9?
We are totally comfortable. I know that there are some open-ended comments regarding traffic studies and improvements warranted. We're more than happy to oblige, but I do want to put the caveat in there that we would need to work with you all on the appropriate study to understand what was driving the improvements from our development standpoint.
I know one of the big pushes for the community is walkability, and in this area, I think Tim and I have talked about this before too, is I don't know, at $1,800 to $2,600 if these people will be working in the general vicinity, but ideally, walkability becomes more of a connection and more of a benefit in our community. So the idea of putting a sidewalk that runs down Beartooth Parkway in order to connect this particular project with other like the apartments that are down the road and the Home Depot area and then all the restaurants around there. Are you opposed to running sidewalk down Beartooth Parkway?
I'm not opposed to a cost contribution or consideration for our development. I guess I would just question what sidewalk network exists presently and if there's considerations for pro rata share with other developments adjacent to us.
Yeah, so there's not one that's there now, and that's the point we're trying to get developers to in order to facilitate contributing towards those things that make our community as a whole much more walkability. We as a community, or we as a government, can't afford to put sidewalks over there. So anybody that brings an impact into the area, we would respectfully ask that they would contribute to that and put those infrastructures in. There's been other examples where we've done that.
Publix, Kroger, those restaurants down through there, they've tied it all together.
There's one right beside you, actually across the road, that is doing that. And so it's been pretty much a standard that we've been trying to facilitate amongst developers here in the last several years in order to bring the whole level of the area up as parcels get developed out.
Sure, I definitely can say we wouldn't be opposed to evaluating it. One thing I would want to bring up is if we would put that additional sidewalk network out within the right of way, if there would be considerations we could give internally to the site, because I know we were very heavy handed with the amount of sidewalks on both sides of the street throughout our entire community. And if there's leeway or ability to potentially put a sidewalk on one side within our street network internally, but then also considerations for external sidewalks as well. The only other thing that, again, we have not done complete and final civil engineering, so I can't speak to the grade challenges immediately adjacent to Beartooth and any wetland considerations we may need to consider on impacts. But definitely not opposed to talking with staff and evaluating that further.
I guess any internal changes will be there will be a variance request. So that will be a whole nother process.
Okay.
What are your plans with Dawson Village Way that connects back up to where the Connie House and stuff is there? What are y'all? I know that it's already an existing road. Are y'all planning on resurface it? It looks like is a y'all would own that road. Is that correct?
There are portions of that road system that are coming through our property. I honestly apologize. I can't speak to whether or not we would plat that off as public right away, if that is a public maintained street at the moment. I know we've had preliminary discussions and we would continue discussions with staff and public works to understand what improvements are warranted as part of the development.
Pretty sure it's private now.
Yeah.
Just from the looks of it. But I guess my concern is I wouldn't want to lose that interparcel connectivity there if y'all ever decided to gate that off. Because it does come to the red light and it connects.
Sure, I would be
in there.
completely in support if we needed to put a stipulation to say we are not allowed to gate off that access point. That is never our intent. This is not a gated community. I would be fine putting that language in to give everyone comfort.
the location of the trash receptacle. No, gentleman spoke to that earlier, that where they're part of the, the Manor Lake there, where they're
Sure.
building their places. And would you be acceptable to moving that trash receptacle so it's not going to be right behind where they're going to have residents?
I have no problem with us taking a look at a different location there. I can't imagine we would struggle to find an alternate location, but if there is a significant challenge, we could also commit to additional screening through landscaping or fencing to help prohibit that. The benefit of using the compactor versus dumpsters is it does keep the smells down. It keeps the area clean versus dumpsters where people tend to throw things haphazardly and it gets a little more run down and it looks a little more disheveled. So I did want to just address the fact that that is a compactor, not an open dumpster location. Happy to consider different locations for that.
So you'd be acceptable to working with staff in reference moving that some other place?
No problem.
What percent green space is this? I probably should know. Sharon, what's the percent of green space?
I'm not sure. if we called it out.
Or 30, is it 30%?
RMF doesn't, I don't think RMF does that.
I thought it required some,
It's RPC.
I don't know if RMF has a.
so it does, so we're just jamming houses in there.
I would imagine the green space is probably more than you would anticipate due to the natural features that we're preserving with the wetlands and the existing detention areas, along with areas along Dawson Village. Like I said, there's some pretty significant grading on the site that we're not going to be able to build right up to the property lines. There's going to be a lot of landscaping, vegetated areas before we can get to the paved street network and the home sites.
Speaking of that, what in the world, what is this? It's on page 42, but I can't find it. What is, when you're talking about trees, 3-inch caliper? What does that mean? You talking about in each
Diameter.
yard?
I think this is just staff report. It's
Just a
just
three?
those are code requirements for the minimum sizing of plantings. And I think that's part of the code that we would need to adhere to.
Is that part of our code?
400 quarter.
Yeah, our code's 2 to 2.5, so the 3 will be a little larger.
Oh, okay. And that was on each yard? Is that what I read? That's what
In
I,
the front yard.
yeah.
Meet you.
What about a stipulation that where there'll be no on-street parking? I know we addressed the throat depth, but I think that's been a challenge for fire and EMS is getting
Right.
larger trucks down through there for emergency aspects.
I would have no problem with that being a stipulation as well. We've redesigned the site accordingly to avoid those on-street surface parking stalls in more of a parallel situation. I do want to comment though, just generally in a few locations, we do have small stubs of parking. An example would be kind of on that south of Dawson Village Parkway, where we have those pods of triplex homes, where we have the surface parking, it's off the main drive, but we do have those. And I just want to make sure that we're clear on that.
That's at the clubhouse and the pool and stuff.
Yep, yep. But on the street network, that driveway throughout the site, I would have no problem putting a stipulation with no on-street parking allowed.
What about additional pockets? Because that's a pretty good ways. If I live at the end on Beartooth and I wanted to have, say my wife and I have a car that fills up the whole area, and then I wanted to have some friends over for dinner. Is there anywhere that you could add additional parking places?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
you got the
did.
one pocket. You got one pocket up there in the front.
We did talk internally. Our preference and our desire would be to find a few other areas after we get into the civil evaluation on where we could put a few additional areas for guest parking. It is a bit tricky when we have to navigate throughout the no on-street parking guideline. But there are areas, I'm just taking a look kind of just north of that northernmost detention area where we have the winding street and there's some green space. There are some opportunities where we could get some additional guest parking in there wherever available.
Other questions of the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we've had the hearing. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Since we had a lot of discussion back and forth and the
Yes.
stipulations and all that,
Mhm.
can I make a recommendation that we table it till we can get those answers back in writing and showed on the plan, a possible location to move the dumpster
Mhm.
and the stipulations that she agreed to add those to the application. So we'll have all those in writing and do,
Change,
y'all think 30 days or next meeting or what?
change the number 10 where it was 25 to 21 feet.
Yeah,
And then 11, the trash receptacle moved from work with staff to put that in another location and obviously no on-street parking.
yeah, and show some possible locations for some
There's a
guest
lot of
parking.
discussion and we need to
Cause
make sure.
I would like to look into the 21 versus 25 because we've always pushed for a minimum throw
Mhm.
depth of 25.
That's
And,
right.
you know,
I
that's,
don't like that.
yeah.
Okay. Yes, I mean, you putting that in form of a motion
Yes, sir.
to table it for 30 days?
What about
21st,
them?
isn't
Could we ask her how long it would take to get back with us?
I apologize. I was gonna ask staff, I don't know if there's any way for me to make more of a formal or comfort commitment for us to be meeting those obligations when we go through the civil engineering phase. I would love that opportunity to acknowledge that we are fine adding those considerations along the way and working with staff, and would very much appreciate if we had the ability to move forward. If we do get tabled, just the one caveat is we would probably not be comfortable internally continuing with full-blown civil engineering and the fees associated with it until we could get the rezoning confirmed. So I guess my question to the board would be if there's any comfort that we could give tonight to be able to proceed and work with staff along the way on the items that we spoke about.
I can't go
No.
for that.
I would
What's
be
our
fine
next
to
meeting? What's our next meeting? 3 weeks?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
3 weeks from now. I think we could definitely have answers too by then.
You can look at a concept of potentially, without a complete engineered drawing, you can probably look at some concept anyway.
Sure.
All right, so we have a motion to table until the 7th
7th.
of July. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Satterfield. It was seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And it is tabled to July 7th, 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Have a good night.
Okay. Next up, we have ZA 22-12, David Cowart request to rezone tax map parcel 113-056 from RA residential agriculture to RSR residential subrural. The purposes of subdividing the parcel to RSR standards, Kylo Church Road. Ms. Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, request is consistent with the future land use map. Planning Commission recommended approval of the request 4-0. It is a larger parcel, but they are only zoning 2 tracts of it to create 2 parcels, one over an acre in size and the one at an acre in size, with the balance being left. The hopes are, I believe, to sell it to the church. But it is a straightforward request. The Planning Commission has supported it.
That meets the future land use plan.
It does.
Questions for Ms. Sharon? Okay, is the applicant present?
Oops, apparently not.
Okay. All right. Well, at this time, I'll open to hear anyone here to speak in favor of the application. You're speaking in fact, give us your name and your address and please sign in and then you'll have 3 minutes.
It's too hot. Maybe now.
Yes, sir. My name is Peyton Anderson with Davis Engineering and Surveying, 133 Prominence Court. And just to reiterate what she said, we were in the process of subdividing this property so that Mr. Cowart could sell the upper portion to the church. We were left with 1.5 acres. And in that zoning, you could only do 5 acre minimum. So we're requesting to rezone to create these 2 lots at the south. So essentially,
So how much is left? 1.5 acres?
there's a 1 acre parcel and 1.5 acre parcel beside it. So we're just creating 2 residential lots.
You've got water and sewer down there.
Yeah.
There'll be
Church.
septic and county water.
Yeah, there is. Okay, thank you.
You gotta have one or other.
Got one of the other.
One
It's
or the
got
other.
water. We have an acre with water or sewer. Okay, anyone else here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve ZA 2212.
Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
second by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. Move on to new business. First up, we have request from the sheriff for the Community Oriented Policing Services School Safety Grant, $500,000 grant with a 25% match. Currently working also with the school board to see if they're willing to split that match with us. This is just to apply for the grant, and they'll come back to us if they are awarded. Any other information needed? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett. Second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. That is approved 4-0. Next up, we have a request for a Public Works Special Projects Coordinator position. County Manager Headley presented that to you tonight. That's a combination of two jobs into one, pretty much, and a rewrite. So it's a grade and title change, and that's the reason you're seeing it. Any other information needed? Motions.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion.
Just that staff, after we advertise the thing out, if we need to revisit, just because it is a new position and somewhat unique, that if we need to revisit salary amounts, that we do that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, please vote. That is approved 4-0. Next up, we have a request for title and grade change for Planning and Development Administrative Assistant. Ms. Sharon presented that to you earlier. Any other information needed?
I mean, going back through and we had some conversation there offline, I would like to have another, just a little bit more time to look over the different stuff. I mean, it being presented tonight, it was quick for me.
Okay.
And we want to do it right. I mean, we've got a
Yes.
lot of changes going on. I think it's fair to her to get it done right. And so that would be my feedback.
Put that in form of a motion.
I would make a motion that we table this until the July 7th.
Okay, so a motion to table until July 7th. They'll have a second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines, seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion.
So what else are we gonna kind of be looking into?
I want to look at job
For-
descriptions and really drill down on what each one's doing, just to make sure that there's uniformity. It's the first time I really saw it was tonight, and so I just hadn't had a lot of time. I want to make sure we get it right.
Do you understand there's 3 involved in this?
Mhm.
You've got that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, from my understanding, it was taking 2 positions, making them I don't remember the exact title, but level 2, basically, like the zoning administrator, the business license technician. They would still retain their same job descriptions, yet they would be on the same pay and grade, to where if one had to fill in for another, they could, or they could have some overlap there, was my understanding. But I mean, if we need some more time to look into it, that's,
That's just me. Y'all might
That's
have your
fine.
head wrapped around it. I just don't know. That's up to y'all.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to table till July 7th. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have request for title and grade change for planning development business license technician. Any other information needed? Motions.
So repeat my comment on that one too. just to make sure- I'll make sure we do that.
If we're gonna do that one, I'll make a motion to table this one to where we can do it at the same time.
Okay. Motion to table by Commissioner Dooley,
Second.
second by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion.
Well, I mean, I'll applaud her for putting different steps and grades in there too, because it's just like the public works. They've got level 1, level 2, level 3. It gives the employee somewhere to look forward
Yeah.
to. Instead of being stagnated in a position, they've got an opportunity to improve or take classes or go to the next level. So I just want to applaud you for doing that, and looking out for your people.
I like where it's going, but I'd rather y'all be comfortable before we
Yeah.
vote on it.
No, I think we're, to what we talked about earlier, there's so much activity in that department and what David, county manager's done with the public works stuff is combining things to make sure we get the right person. When we've got positions that are not filled, and I don't know if it's a salary thing or I just want to make sure that when we put this thing forward, we got the right amounts on them to attract the right people that are doing the right job in order to serve citizens out of that department. And there's a lot of activity there. So I just want to make sure that you're getting what you need in order to fill those positions.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote. That's tabled to July 7th, 4-0. Next up, a proposed agreement regarding exchange of right-of-way or interest in land related to the county state route 53 at Thompson Creek Park Road realignment project. County attorney presented that to you today. Any other information needed? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. No one signed up for public comment here in this section.
No, sir.
With that, we are adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.